28 months down, yeah, the industry's been bruised, but we're not here to fold, we're here to refuse. While others pause, we built the plays, now we're leading the charge in a brand new phase. You feel that tension, that's the pressure to grow. Hiring's messy, turnovers high and budgets low, but we don't panic, we adapt. We sharpen the edge and reload the map. This is the staffing playbook, strategy on tap. Steven brings the grit, G Money brings the slap. Forget the fluff, forget the spin. We give you plays that actually win. From the break room floor to the boardroom seat, we've walked the walk, now we bring the heat. CDLs, forklifts, line leads, and execs. We place the best and fix the wrecks. Insight, hustle, leadership bold. No safe takes, just the truth told cold. Wanna scale your team, wanna close that gap. We got the data, the story, and the roadmap. So turn it up, lock it in. This is more than a podcast, it's a win. This is the staffing playbook. Let's get to work, it starts right now.
Welcome back to the Staffing Playbook podcast. I'm your host, Stephen Farrell, and I'm joined by my co-host,
Geneviève Bourgeois. How are you today?
I am so great. I am just amped up. It's a Friday, and we have one of the coolest guests today. We are live, by the way, so put your comments there in the chat. Benjamin Mena, the host of the Elite Recruiter podcast, a podcast I have been following for over 4 years when it was the only staffing podcast out there. Learned so much from Benjamin. You're an inspiration. And how cool is it that I've got you here today on our podcast?
We are not worthy. We are
Come
not
on,
worthy.
guys.
No, we've been so excited about this. So thank you so much for carving time out of your schedule.
I'm excited to be here, guys. Like, you guys are just rocking it out. And I could we go back to the music? I was like jamming out before, like, oh my God, that's amazing. Like, how do I get that like added to my part of my iTunes playlist?
You're not the first person to say that. That's cool. Thank you. Yeah, I was watching you in the lobby rocking out to that, to the intro.
You guys need to have a conversation with Raul Mendoza and like do like whatever you have there, have it him do a mixtape. He's like the recruiting rapper.
Oh yeah, let's do it. Bring it on. If you're out there, let's go.
Well, Raul Mendoza. Okay.
Raul Mendoza.
All right.
So today we're going to be talking about know your worth, unlocking the true value of your staffing firm, of your services. And Benjamin Mena, I'm going to give you a brief introduction and why you're here today. And then you can help me fill in the gaps, correct me where I go wrong. But Benjamin here started his career after graduating from the University of Central Florida with a degree in economics, which I don't even know how to spell economics. So
neither do I.
Kudos. Yeah. For the first 15 years of his professional career, he supported large defense contracts, leading hiring efforts for some of the nation's most complex and challenging government programs. And then recently in 2018, he founded Select Source Solutions to continue supporting government contracts while expanding his consultative practice. Now, Benjamin combines his interest in education and economics to help employers understand how the hiring landscape reflects larger economic trends and adjust their recruiting practices accordingly. He's also the host of the one and only Elite Recruiter podcast. If you're not a subscriber, go check him out. He's on every streaming platform, every podcast platform. And I tell you what, the guests he has on there every single time, it's just phenomenal. A lot of information sharing, a lot of tactics. In his spare time, Benjamin, him and I share some common interests outside of work. He does running or traveling to new wine regions or hosting, of course, the Elite Recruiter. I'm sure you just do that for fun.
Pretty much.
So where did I miss anything here?
No, I think you got it. Especially in the GovCon space, like you have to understand like what's happening economically and what's happening politically, because that impacts so many things that we do in this space. But yeah, excited to be here. Like I'm excited for your episode to drop like in a bit on the Elite Recruiter podcast. Like, my God, you like knocked it out of the park. I went and hit the replay and I was like taking notes. I'm like, God, this guy's good.
We
He's
can't give
feeding
him
my
that
ego.
type of confidence. No, no,
I should
no.
have waited till the end.
Stop it. Stop it. We can't do that now.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that. Sorry about that. Yeah.
No, but thank you for that, and it was an honor and a dream to be a guest on your podcast. So can't wait for that to drop. I know you. I was like maybe 15th on the list of guests you've already interviewed ahead of me, so I get it. You're a popular guy, so I'll patiently wait for that episode to drop.
Well, I mean, it looks like you guys have like function and clarity with what you guys are doing, and that's why if like you see that growth trajectory of what the staffing playbook is turning into. Man, I just started off as like I was bored during COVID and wanted to talk to somebody. And we hit the record.
That sounds about right. Well, so Benjamin, why are we talking about unlocking the true value of your services, your staffing firm, knowing your worth? Why is that topic so important to you?
Because it's one of those things that I think most recruiters, I mean, so often us recruiters, like we fall into this space. Like this wasn't the career that we chose. We didn't go to college to become a recruiter. Yes, there are a few of you, and I got called out yesterday. Somebody called me up angrily saying, I chose this career, but you're the first one out of like how many?
Yeah.
So we fall into this space and like, we just like, hey, let's go make some money. We could go do this. It's a grind. It sucks. It beats the crap out of us. Like like recruiting is a full contact sport.
Yeah.
It wasn't what we wanted to choose. And we have to hit the decision of like, are we like, most people hit it like anywhere from like the 3-year mark to probably the 7-year mark. I'm actually choosing this career now. And the people that choose this career now, they start to understand what their worth is. And you have to like, as a foundation, know what you bring to the table. Cause I mean, what we change lives, we change businesses. And like, at least in the government contracting space, like I can literally talk about over $1 billion worth of government contracts being filled. So like I can calculate that out, but it's like one of those things, like every other space that you're in, how do you calculate what you've done? How many, like that company that was actually building those medical devices, if you didn't bring those people to the table, people would have died.
Yeah.
In the contracting space, like if you don't find that the specialized person that's digging through the data, like helping them find the bad guys, American troops die.
Yep.
It's true.
You're in the software space. The person that you find that helps put together that software for that company can make or break an entire company. And we're the ones behind the scenes using the art of influence to put those things together and matchmake and we do so much. And it's just like, we have to sometimes just stop and like realize, oh crap, look at what we have done. Look at the value of what we bring to the table. Cause so often we get beat down. It's a hard job. And we start forgetting about the humanity of what we do. Yeah.
So you just hit a bunch of stuff there in that 2 sentences, which was fantastic. You're right about, typically people don't go and find recruiting, it finds them. And sure, some people that they do that on purpose, but most of the time you kind of fall into staffing, get dragged into it, like me. But you find your purpose over time, which I think is probably the best way to go about it. Certainly it was for me. You mentioned, saving people's lives, whether it's the hiring that programmer to write the software that helps people overseas. You mentioned this is a story I shared on your podcast and others about what we did that saved people's lives with the medical device company. And when you see that impact that you're making, it really solidifies that self-worth, right? It's set aside the services that you provide and what that costs, but you start to truly understand what you're capable of and what you can accomplish. And that changes the game on your service offering when you know exactly what you're worth and what you can do and how you're going to do it.
I mean, here's another thing to think about. Like when you're sitting there self-calculating these numbers, like most often, at least on the direct placement side or even the staffing side, we calculate everything on the placement fees. Like, $600,000 in placement fees, $10 million in staffing revenue. Here's another way to calculate it. What if we're calculating the amount of salaries that we're impacting?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and if you're looking at it basic, like how they study, like, economic development and that kind of stuff, like look at the salaries and multiply that by 2. And that's the economic impact that you bring to the table.
That's a great way to look at it. You'll have to teach
Jen-
me that calculation. I'm
Jen-
not good with the math.
I could learn that from Jen Myers, and I'm like, oh my God, this is freaking genius. Because actually they like during all their meetings talked about the economic impact that they had. And I'm like, wait, that's another way that we can calculate our value.
Yeah.
That's
It's
good.
beautiful.
I like that.
Well, I want to just for real briefly, most everyone watching probably knows who you are, knows your story, but for those few people that don't, could you spend just a quick minute, on your journey into recruiting and staffing? What drew you into this field, and particularly in supporting government defense contracts, which a lot of people, that is not in the wheelhouse. They don't even know where to start. So the fact that that has been a niche of yours is super interesting, and I want to learn more about that as well.
I love GovCon. I'll just say that. we always try to like run away from it. It just claws us back kicking and screaming. But so initially in college, you're going to laugh at this. I wanted to join the Navy. And the Navy recruiters wanted me to become a pilot. I wanted nothing to do with being a pilot. I'm like, if I wanted to be a pilot, I would have grown up wanting to be a pilot. I wanted to be a intel officer focusing on the Chinese economy.
What? That's really specific.
That was my goal, was to join the Navy as become an intel officer focusing on Chinese economical principles and policy and all that stuff.
Okay, why intel officer and why the Chinese?
I was studying Mandarin. Like my degree was in economics. Like I was probably like plowing through, pretty much every single econ book on China that I can get my whole hands on. I'd plow through and read. It's just like, I thought they were going to be one of the large adversaries that we were going to have to deal with, down the road. And I was like, hey, let's help prepare my country. Come to find out, a bunch of stuff happened. Didn't end up joining the military. And I had some friends that were crushing in recruiting. And actually, let me take a step back. I had a friend that worked at the Pentagon debriefing some really high level people. I sat down with him like, okay, what do these people really do? He's like, you would suck at this. He's like, you talk too much. I'm like, well, crap. So fast forward, I had some friends that were recruiters, and one of my good friends, my mentors, I used to be the recruiting manager for Lockheed Martin. She's like, okay, your grades are not good enough to get hired at Lockheed Martin, but you can go get a job as an agency recruiter and work your way up. I was like, okay, cool. So I went and interviewed at some agencies, and I got an offer for and this is like back in 2005, for it was like a 45K base salary working remote.
Whoa.
Yeah, which was awesome. And then
Yeah.
I got another offer that was a 27K base salary working in the office 5 days a week.
Hard decision.
It was. I was like, I'm going to be living the good life. And my mentor sat me down. She's like, if you take that remote job, you will fail. I was like, but it's remote. She's like, you have two options. You're going to be thrown to the wolves. No, they're not going to give you any training. And if you a smaller company like that, if you fail quick, you're out. If you go to this other organization, the pay is going to suck. It's going to be hard as hell, but it's going to train you. It has one of the best training programs that in the entire recruiting industry, and it'll pay dividends down the road for your career. I was like, well, you're my mentor. I hate saying no to money, but I trust you. And I went and took that other job. Fast forward, I started a new division with we started construction management headhunting. I think it was about 3 months in. Guess how many placements I've made?
How many?
0.
I had a manager call me into the office, sit me down, and they're just like, we want to get rid of you. You suck at recruiting. Nobody wants you to work on their team. And I'm like, well, this sucks. Went home but
there's all your dreams just crashing
pretty
down
much
in front of you.
And I'm like, and he's like, the only reason why we haven't got rid of you is because you hit all the metrics. You put in the work. We just don't know why you suck, and we can't figure it out. So went home, and I don't know if I didn't even have a car at that point in time, but shortly after I didn't have a car. That's a whole nother story. I was taking the bus to my Aerotech office, and my car was in the parking lot. It broke down for 3 months because I couldn't afford to fix it. But I got there before everybody and left after everyone. So nobody knew that I actually didn't have a car. Because at the same time, nobody gives a shit about your problems.
Yeah, it's true.
They only care about the end of the story. But so that night after that conversation, went and probably drank about 2 bottles of wine. And I remembered, I was just like, hey, every Wednesday, they send out a list of the top recruiters in the country in every division. So during my lunchtime that next day, I actually started cold calling these recruiters. I'm like, hey, can you like chat with me like after work, or can you chat with me for during lunch? I just want to like know what you're doing. And there was no secret that I learned in all these calls. There was no like aha moment, but just every single conversation I picked up just like a little nugget. And the next conversation I picked up a little nugget. And the next conversation I picked up a little nugget. And those little nuggets started adding up on top of the work that I was still doing. And, you know, fast forward, I mean, I think it was maybe a year later, like I was on top of those weekly charts. But if it wasn't for those moments where these recruiters that had no clue who the hell I was, but gave me their time, shared some ideas that they probably didn't even like know what they were sharing, those little moments completely changed my career and literally changed the trajectory of my life.
That's
Wow.
incredible. That's incredible. Like really leaning in on others and being honest with yourself. It's like, hey, how can I improve? How can I be better? Because at the end of the day, we're in a career field where we do actually impact people's lives. We can change it for the better. And that's really the goal, creating long-term stability. But getting better at it and sometimes just being like, all right, I'm not good at this. Can I pick
I
your
mean,
brain? And taking that extra time. That's a great piece of advice to like for everyone to go and take away from this.
it was the only thing I could think of because I had no plan B. I couldn't even afford a car.
Yeah, I love that story. It wasn't you were first in and last out in the office because you're like an overachiever. It's like I just don't want anyone to know that my car's broken down and I'm leaving it here for 3 months.
I mean, like, and then like once I finally got another car, like, I mean, I was spending 40 hours a week outside of work delivering pizza.
Yeah.
Just because like you got to do what you got to do. But like, looking back on it, like I had no other option. I had no plan B. I had no backup plan. I had no family to fall back on. Like this had to be my shot.
Yeah.
And I
Well,
think I think the craziest thing is like coming from college from college athletes, and I was like the leader of the team captain and stuff. Like I knew how to work hard, but I had to learn the people skills on top of the working hard and learn like some of the selling of that. Like this was probably that 6-month window or that 9-month window when I was just getting started, probably was the hardest I ever worked. And I tell myself now, I'm like, maybe I need to go back to that structure. But man, you have 2 options when you're put against the wall. I wanted to quit every, excuse my language, freaking day, but I had nothing to quit to. It was my only option.
Yeah. The fact you put the work in that first year, because if you've never been in staffing before, recruiting, like, yeah, there's that learning curve that is 6 months to a year. And it sounds like you got slapped right in the face early on your first 2 or 3 months going, yeah, you suck, Benjamin.
Oh,
and
if you want a good laugh, if you guys want a great laugh, and if you're watching this, my first commission check in staffing, in recruiting, contract recruiting, was 13 cents.
Not even worth the paper it's printed on.
I couldn't even get coffee with it.
Wow. I couldn't even imagine being your supervisor, printing that check.
I mean, it was like corporate, it's a multi-billion-dollar company. So like the supervisor, whatever. But yeah, I remember like I finally got enough spread to like cross that 3K barrier where you actually start getting commission. I was like 13 cents commission on my paycheck.
I would have cried and drank 2 bottles of wine then.
Yeah. Well, and look at you now. Now you're dominating the world. And so it sounds like that mentor you leaned into really was pivotal in your recruiting career.
I mean, it's, that's one of the dumb ideas I had about the Elite Recruiter podcast is like, if it wasn't for those random people that said yes to those phone calls, like not everybody had that. Not everybody had that structure. Like, so I can just have a conversation with a friend, and maybe like somebody could pick up that little nugget that could change their lives.
Yeah. Well, let's jump into when it comes to this topic, knowing your worth. Maybe let's dive a little bit into your background in economics and how that shaped your approach to recruiting and knowing your worth, knowing your value.
I mean, I think that's an interesting thing that nobody's brought up before. But when it comes to like studying economics and studying like the impacts of it, like I actually had an offer to become a economic impact person, and I turned it down because I actually want to be a recruiter. But it's just like you start like looking at the numbers, like, hey, look at like what the city has done, and you see like when they talk about the Olympics, the economic impact, and you're like, okay, are those numbers real or are those numbers not? But as recruiters, we actually have real numbers in front of us. We have people's salaries. Like we have people like how much they make on a per hour basis. Like you got someone a job for $25 an hour, 40 hours a week, multiply that by 52 weeks of the year. Look at that. That's a number that you can take quantitatively to yourself and be like, hey, guess what? I just helped somebody make 52K a year. I just helped someone make 100K. Stack that up. You had 5 of those placements or 5 of those hires over the past like month. That's 500K or $250,000 of salaries. Like it's just like all these numbers that like we just need to start thinking of. And once you have that book and you write it down of like, oh wait, I just helped somebody do this. It really starts helping that self-confidence grow.
Yeah, I've in my 8 years of staffing, I know I'm just an infant still, but I've never looked at it that way. I've looked at how much value is it putting in my team's pocket or in my pocket, but not the people we're placing necessarily. Which is really, I mean, you're focused on the candidate, right? And making sure their best interests are in mind, and you're aligning them with the right company that they want to work for. All that matters, but to think about just the economic impact you're making with that placement, with their salary, what they can do in turn, right? That's a great way to look at it.
I mean, Steve, I would love for you to like run the numbers, like, later on next week and just like look what your team has done, like salary wise over the last year. Like on a, everything's on a per hour basis. I get that, but you guys behind the scenes have all the accounting.
That's
like
right.
we always talk about the revenue that we make in staffing, but like what, like I want to hear these numbers. Like this is the biggest thing when it comes to like, I love coaches. I have a ton of coaches. I'm friends with a ton of coaches. I don't give a crap how much you made as a coach. I want to know how much the people you've been coaching make. And it's the same thing in the recruiting space. Like we care about like, the salaries of the stuff, but like, what if you walk up to one of your customers and be like, hey, or potentially a new client, like over the last year, we've had a $500 million economic impact on the amount of people that we worked with. Oh, really? Okay, cool. Tell me about that. Well, this is kind of the process of how we do that.
Yeah. Wow. That's really insightful. So when we look at what's going on right now in the industry for recruiting, I know you do direct placements. We got a lot of people watching that do direct placements. We've got commercial staffing firms, healthcare staffing firms. What is it that we need to do from an economics standpoint, the trends that are happening out there, like to maintain your competitive edge as a full desk 360 recruiter, or if you're leading a staffing firm, what is it that we should be looking at economically, especially here in 2025?
This is going to sound dumb, but turn the noise off, turn the news off. Like everything's like negative. You look at like the staffing reports and they're negative, but here's the crazy thing. Like put yourself in a little economic bubble or a little bubble. I live in a bubble. Like if you're connected with Steven, make sure you highlight his little thing. Like every time you see his post, it pops up in your feed, like the little bell ring on LinkedIn. Yep. Do that for the top 25 recruiters that you look up to. So that way, when they post, you see in their feed. Because here's the thing, like the algorithm pumps us bad news constantly. The algorithm pumps us stuff, especially on LinkedIn now, that want to eat up our time. Create a bubble for yourself. And here's the thing, like these big economic reports of like all the stuff, like everything's going down and everything's burning around you. Like the market's down, 30 months in a row now. Here's the thing. That's for the big dogs. All those numbers are for those big companies. The small teams right now, the boutique firms are the ones that are absolutely winning.
100%.
Like it is set up right now to take advantage of it. If you are a small company or a small organization and your boutique, you could be more nimble. You could try new things, and you don't have to sit there and like deal with the BS that those other recruiters that those big companies have to go through because they can't do anything. So they're stuck on a hamster wheel. While a lot of small companies are winning.
So just interesting information right there. But with the smaller staffing firms, do you believe that they're able to go and eat up more of the business right now because of all the rules and regulations of the larger firms? And like just essentially, hey, we're going to go try this. Do you think it's more of a problem and solution based conversation that they're having, or in that they're trying new things?
They're more nimble.
Versus all the I worked for a very big staffing company, and think about all the red tape. Do you think the red tape is what's actually holding them back?
I mean, I think the red tape is absolutely like one of the biggest things holding them back. As a small company, like you guys can just hop online and be like, hey, you can share a social selling story that can share the impact. Some of these other recruiters at companies can't even freaking post online, or their posting has to fit in this little box. Like this is what they're allowed to do. Like, but the thing is, those companies, those big organizations don't want you to become the go-to player because they know that you're going to leave. They want everything to be around the agency. It's all about this big agency. We don't want you to go get your own identity because we know that once the second you get your own identity, you're either going to go to a boutique firm or you're going to go start your own thing and become competition.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I actually worked for a place where they actually want to have the rights to my LinkedIn personally. And like
Exactly.
I redlined that out. I was like, absolutely not. Because at the time I also was running my own like small business. And I was like, nope, unsubscribe, swipe left. That's not okay.
But how many people actually read those documents until after they've signed it?
There were several people when layoffs happened due to COVID that were very upset about that. Yeah.
And they enforced it, didn't they?
Oh, they totally did. They went and they enforced it.
So, yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I just want to hit on that for a minute because this is a hot topic. That I worked for two big firms that, same policies, and it was like impossible to be your own authentic brand, and for all the reasons you just mentioned, all those fears of you're going to take that with you. But interesting enough, it's like that you're being associated to that company that you're working for with your social presence, and so it's only adding value to the brand. It's adding multiple personalities to the brand. Like it gives you a competitive edge, and it's I love that these big firms are so scared of that happening within their own workforce with their own people, because it gives, like you mentioned, these small firms the competitive advantage. Like you get to stand out, you get to create your own identity and authority in the space, and it naturally just builds up the rest of the business that you're working for. And I want the big firms to keep hammering down on their social media and not let people have personalities, because it's just going to give the rest of us a cutting edge.
I mean, it's one of those things. Like it's just, I know why they do it, because they don't want to create other companies. But in the meantime, they've created billions and billions of dollars of competitors because of that.
100%. Yeah, there wouldn't be 25,000 staffing firms if the core staffing firms actually took care of their people and just allowed them to work the way they should be.
So like we're going to see 2025 as like, last year, going into this year, the rise of the boutique agencies, in my opinion.
Yeah. You're right. The ones that are nimble, that are evolving and adapting. They're going to take more market share. I agree with you. So are there any microeconomic trends that you see right now that are significantly impacting staffing decisions today?
So like, I'll just talk about partially the bubble that I live in of government contracting. So, it's the two things that we're kind of going back and forth with, depending on where in GovCon you are. Doge was a huge thing at the start of this year, and it's kind of like, I don't want to say it's dying off, but everybody's kind of like hitting the point where, okay, like we kind of know what's been impacted. Like the very beginning of the year up until probably about a month ago, everybody was afraid to do business because they didn't know what they were going to lose. So like those are just like policy wise that affect the recruiting industry
Yeah.
like in the recruiting world. But like, if this bill passes through Congress at the moment, like there's going to be more money for DoD. So it's like the ebbs and flows of where things go and understanding how the market plays and where the business is. And as a recruiter, you have to kind of like, okay, let me just lean over this way a little more or lean over this way a little more. So like, that's one of the things in GovCon, it's hard to keep up with the news with everything with tariffs. And I know that's been impacting a ton of like recruiters that work with multinational brands. So I can't tell you which way is going to happen. Like tariffs were illegal a second ago. Now like another court overturned it. So like it is hard to keep up. The one thing that you could definitely during all this keep up with is the relationships that you have. Like these are the time to double down in the conversations, because as we saw in COVID, whoever really hugged the relationships the most when the world stopped, once the world opened back up again, those are like those people that spent those time in the relationships were the ones that were thought of first. Like,
Yep.
oh wait, we need some help as things ramped up. And those are the recruiters that just absolutely crushed it. So I think the same thing's going to happen again once we figure out which way's up again.
Yeah, that's the key, right? We gotta find that direction. Once we know
But
up is up.
You got to keep on swimming. Like you can't sit there on the beach with your surfboard, like just waiting. You have to be out there in the ocean with your surfboard for when that wave comes. Like, okay, now I get to ride it.
Yeah.
Great analogy.
Yeah. Okay. I want to jump into now value selling, understanding your worth. The topic of today. Right now, you know this, Benjamin. It's like very transactional in our business right now. Like, hey, first question I get is, what's your markup? Before like we can even like talk and get to know each other, it's like, okay, what's your markup? It's like, whoa, hold on. We're not ready to talk business yet. But there's a race right now to the bottom on markup because the industry has been in a recession for over 30 straight months. And so, people are just getting desperate, and you can't blame them for getting desperate. They're just trying to get as much business as they can of what little business is out there for that staffing spend. And so it's been unfortunate because of this first time ever we've been in this recession in staffing for 30 months that, it seems like the low margins, the low markup is just becoming the new norm. That's becoming the standard. And we've taught our clients that this is the standard now. And there's some obvious things that problems with that, but there are people that are standing out and they're still selling on value. It's not just transactional. And so I want to understand, how we communicate our value when everyone else is making it transactional around us.
I think some of it all depends on what the space is and where your ICP lives. But if your ICP lives on LinkedIn, you have to be absolutely different on there. Because here's the thing, like if you're social selling, you're telling a story. You are pulling these people into your world. And like this could be like 9 months of you pulling them into the world before you can even like potentially sometimes close a deal or even have a conversation.
Right.
But over this time, they see like this isn't just like the email or the call that they've gotten. And that's what most of your competitors are doing. They're just emailing and calling. But if you are sucking these people into your world and pulling them in and seeing how you're different, and you're actually showing how you're different, your storytelling of some of the things that you're doing, when you have that conversation, that first question will probably be like, because that's the way it's going to be like, hey, what's your markup? Well, my markup's this, but like, let's talk about all the things that we could do. Hey, by the way, we've helped XYZ client. We've your competitor, we actually staffed them up. Like, you use the experiences that you have, the things that you've done, and you really have, they look at you in a different light. Like, that's one of the crazy things, like, that I didn't expect with the Elite Recruiter podcast. My biggest mistake, and I'm telling you guys, podcasting is a secret weapon for relationships that be different. Like, it is, like, I'm like all the time, like, make a podcast. But I was a wingnut and made a podcast about recruiting, and I focus on government contracting.
Yeah. I mean, could you pick a boring or topic? Like,
so I'm like, so I'm just like I should have, or I still like, it's just time wise. I haven't done one for GovCon just because like I'm having so much fun here and I still actually have to recruit and all that stuff. But like podcasting is a great way to do like a different way to play the game. But back to what I was saying, like, because of the podcast, I have people in the government contracting space that reach out to me because I show up on their feed every single time they pop on LinkedIn. I am omnipresent to the point that it's annoying, and I don't do it on purpose. Like, I'm just trying to like share my stories and share some stuff. But I guarantee you, if you're in the GovCon space and you're connected with me, you know exactly who I am. And there's 24,000 recruiters in the DC metro. Guess how many of them are posting all the time? Not
Zero.
even 1%. Not even 1%. So guess what? Guess who, out of 24,000 recruiters, many times when someone's looking for work support, I at least get a conversation.
Because they know your name, because you put yourself out there. And then on top of that, you're also just selling your world and telling your story.
And like, here's a crazy thing about a podcast. Like, I hate being on this side of the fence sometimes where like people are asking me questions, because like I like to be behind the scenes. Like, if you host a podcast, we'll just say like a government contracting podcast where you're speaking with these leaders. Guess what? You're highlighting them, and you're not making it about you. You're making it about somebody else. You're shining a light on them, and because you're shining a light on them, the lights automatically shine back on you as an expert.
That's right. Yeah, that's one thing I've learned just, with our podcast is I mean, we bring on guests like yourself to just share tremendous value, but selfishly, I think I get the most value out of it. I think we do, Genevieve, because we get to learn firsthand from you and all of our other guests, and it's really neat to have to just get real time information, because our industry is changing every single day. But back to your comment about this social awareness and how you're standing out, and that's I'm glad you shared your secret of starting a podcast. I know I hushed you there for a second, but the truth of the matter, most people tuning in, they know that's a great idea. They see the success out of it, but they're just afraid to put themselves out there. How do you what do you say to people that are?
It's one of those things. We are already having these conversations with our clients. Like, we're already having, if you've been in this business for more than 3 years, you are already having these conversations with the clients. Just hit the record button on Zoom. It doesn't need to be perfect. Like, I used Zoom for, I think, like the first 50 episodes, because Zoom, like, once it's done recording, it'll split between the audio and the video.
Yeah.
My intro and outro was $15 on Fiverr. You go to Spotify for podcasters and get everything in there, for free, to upload it to all these places. You can drop it on YouTube for free. You can use something like Opus Clips to cut scenes out of your podcast episode. The thing is, the barrier to have a podcast mentally is super high, but the actual barrier to start one is super low.
Yeah. Looks like we lost you there for a second, Genevieve.
Yeah, sorry about that. Someone was begging at the door.
Oh, you got your dog with you?
Yeah, the Frenchie. Someone taught him how to talk. And so he was just starting to talk, and I was like, okay, this is going to be bad, with him screaming in the background. So
I thought you were going to be like, Benjamin's getting boring. Let me just get out of here.
No.
I'm out of here.
I'm done with this.
So yeah. I want to highlight what you just said in a different way for those that are tuning in. I was just asking Benjamin of how do you establish how do you sell on value, when everyone else they've commoditized, it's transactional, it's the lowest markup. And he didn't say, well, go in there and explain your value. I didn't hear any of that from you. What I heard is you've established that value already up front before you even walk into that meeting or take that phone call or have a Teams meeting. They already understand the value you bring to the table before you even have a conversation. Did I just hear that? Is that what I heard?
That's the goal. One of the things that for recruiters, we should be connected with just about everybody in our space. Cool, connect with other recruiters, but you should be connected with your ICP, wherever your ICP is, and you should be sitting there and sharing constantly, so that way they know exactly who you are.
Yeah. That's so that is the secret sauce here. It's not so secret anymore, but you have to establish yourself as an authority in the space. You have to be active on social media. You have to be wherever your ICP is. You've got to be where they're at and show your expertise in many different ways. Where we've learned that staffing agencies, we or not staffing agents, HR leaders, they have what's called a day one list. We interviewed 4 different HR leaders and asked them, does the day one list exist? And all of them said yes. And what a day one list is when you're looking for someone to do a direct placement for you, or you're looking for a staffing firm to partner with, when you wake up that morning and decide you're gonna go and reach out to a firm, you already have 1 to 2 agencies already on your day one list that you're going to reach out. You're not going to reach out to the 30 sales calls that you had last week. You're going to reach out to the 1 or 2 that are on your list.
I mean, it's one of those things, like in the conversations I have constantly, like, people live off referrals. People live off, like, what's the easiest way to get into another business? Referral. What's the easiest way to, like, create inbound storytelling? Yes, cold calling absolutely does work, but there are things that you can do to make every single call and email count more. Yes, you're doing your outbound stuff. Yes, you're doing this and storytelling and all that places. And here's the biggest thing that I love about podcasting is because us recruiters, guess what? When we're on the phone with these like candidates and clients, we're asking questions. Our discovery calls on both sides. What are we good at? We're good at asking great questions.
Yep.
These leaders love being highlighted. We just hit record, like, hey, why don't you join my like XYZ podcast and ask some great questions and then shut up and get the hell out of the way.
Yeah.
Like the goal is don't talk on these podcasts. Just ask questions, let them highlight themselves, share those clips online. And every time you share that clip online, it hits the entire network.
Yeah.
And you don't have to be the center of attention if you're hosting a podcast. You could be like a shy guy, just ask the questions.
Yeah, you do a really good job of that. You and David over at the staffing show. That's one thing I'm learning from both of you. Like, just ask great questions and get out of the way. Let them answer. I really like the way you do that on your own podcast.
If you want a good laugh, I always joke around like nobody wants to listen to my podcast to listen to me.
Well, no, and that's like one of those things because Steven, he keeps sharing a bunch of different podcasts with me. And that's like one of those things I actually brought that up to him. I was like, no, you got to realize they're listening actively and actually responding. And I think that's actually one of the better ways of how you can genuinely connect with the podcast and actually make a difference, because it's not just me. It's, hey, what are you doing?
She's being nice about that comment, by the way. It was really like, Steve, shut up.
Well, I mean, think about this. Like, how many times have you emailed like a hiring manager and you really want to work with them? They're on your dream 100 list of companies to work with. And they've just like delete, call voicemail. Hey, I'd love to have you join my industrial staffing podcast. Love to share your story. Oh, hey, love to chat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Yeah. So you're talking a lot about brand positioning and how you can stand out, as your own authority, or helping your staffing firm stand out. So you can build that brand around your strengths. Do you have any personal examples? Maybe it's your own, others that in your network, other firms that have successfully communicated their worth and been able to, be on that day one list by positioning themselves as that authority in the space.
So some of the things that we've done is one, the Elite Recruiter podcast, which was pure accidental. How like that wasn't a planned thing. What I have done is also put together a bunch of LinkedIn articles, even pre-Chat GPT. And one of the crazy things about LinkedIn does amazing with Google SEO. So I have a lot of like LinkedIn articles about the government contracting space. And I have articles where I literally lay out how to find everything that you're looking for in my space. I'm like, here's you using your guys' language, the playbook, how to staff up your contract. And many of the times they read it, they're like, this is amazing. We're still running into like walls. We need your help. And those little pieces of content over time have like really just like set me up as an authority where, and I sometimes talk about it and I don't do it enough because I'm really like kind of like stuck in this world of a podcast in recruiting and trying to like handle the government contracting world that I don't do as well as I should. But like, I can sit there and tell in a conversation, like we've helped staff over $1 billion worth of government contracts.
Wow.
That's impressive.
But here's the thing, like I can easily quantify that. Like you're gonna laugh at this. Like one of those contracts that I staffed up was a $550 million contract. So halfway there on one contract.
Hey, take that windfall.
But yeah, it's like, but oh my God, government contract recruiters just don't like see it that way. And I have to sit there and explain this. I'm like, okay, so it was just you and one other person, or just you, that you staffed up this $25 million contract. It's across 5 years. That's a $250 million contract vehicle that you just staffed up yourself. Like, do you understand how awesome that is? Like the whole company's living on it for you because you're the recruiter. In the government contracting space, like every single government contractor, all they are in reality is they say they're consulting or blah, blah, blah. Bullshit. What they are is super complex staffing firms that have a ton more rules. And the revenue engine is the recruiter that actually puts everything together.
Yeah. Yeah. When you put it that way, that's a big responsibility on the recruiter's shoulders, isn't it?
But you have to internalize that, understand it. And then that helps your foundational confidence level.
So here's the thing, like you're not going to make money unless the order is filled. And that's where the recruiter is the most vital piece of getting the right person in the right position. So no, that's something, Stephen, how many times have I been preaching that?
I don't know, like every second.
Yeah, all the time. I get on him all the time about this because I did run a 360 desk, and it's not about just getting the order. You got to fill the order in order to bring revenue to the table, but also think about the economic impact of how much you're impacting people's salaries. So, yeah.
And I like the economic impact breakdown. I have to give full credit to Jen Meyer, she's like a multi-million-dollar biller. Like she just absolutely crushes it. She's amazing. And just like she's been able to she's so great on reframing all the things that we do. And like on a sales side, like amazing. So at least that part on the economic impact, full credit to her.
Jen Meyer, shout out to Jen Meyer. All right. No, we're already coming up on time, and it's been really
guys.
Clear what you've shared today.
We're going to just have to have you back on again.
Yeah, definitely. So what's maybe the biggest lesson you've learned over the years doing what you do that you can share with our audience today?
The biggest lesson that I've learned, there's like so many lessons. The biggest lesson is don't quit. Like this is a job where all the time stuff gets hard, and quitting is so easy. You can go to somewhere else where you're not getting beat up. You can go to somewhere else where it's a one-way sales, and what you're selling doesn't talk back and have a mind. But it's also, this is such an industry where it can actually change your life. You're not only changing their lives, but your life can change too. So stick it out.
I love that. Yeah, Benjamin here, he asked me on his podcast if I could go back in time and in my first years, in staffing, what would I tell myself? And I'm like, nothing. I'm not going to tell myself anything because I probably won't be here if I go and mess it up again.
Man, you're lucky because I know exactly what I would tell myself.
Yeah. So I want to ask you that question now. If you go back in time, your first year in recruiting, what would you tell yourself?
Say yes to the sales training.
Oh.
I wanted to be a recruiter, like stay on the recruiting side so bad. Like I turned down promotional opportunities. I turned down a bunch of stuff. Like what I wanted to do at the staffing agency that I was working at was I wanted to help them build the government contracting company. And I wanted to stay on the recruiting side of the house and build it out. Like I was actually working across multiple offices in the evenings, filling government contracting roles across the board. And my manager kind of hated me for it, but I said like after 6 p.m. I could do anything I want. You don't own me after that.
Yeah.
But like, I think saying one of the things that I think the UK recruiters have mastered that the US recruiters haven't, in the UK, almost everybody starts off as a 360. In the US, it's more of a 180 model, and sales is like a promotion. So so many recruiters look at sales as something different and something far away and something like, oh, I have to achieve. I was afraid of sales. I stayed afraid of sales. And I think saying no to sales probably has, I would say, taken away millions of dollars worth of income from me that I've had to go and learn how to build that muscle over time.
Yeah.
If I built it sooner, I think there would have been a huge difference.
That's interesting. I like that. All right, let's hit you with the rapid fire. A few questions to wrap it up.
You ready?
I hope so.
So, one common mistake that 360 desk recruiters make or staffing firms when it comes to communicating their value. I think I know your answer, but let's hear it.
I mean, they just need to be sharing your story. Like, share more. Like, be open. We're having these conversations all day long. Like, share it online.
Share your story. Yeah. Nobody's doing that. Well, that's a whole nother topic. I mean, it's a blue ocean for the rest of us that do, but it's so fascinating that the majority do not.
People buy from people.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So if you weren't in recruiting and podcasting, what would you be doing right now?
Drinking wine.
I could see you being a winemaker. Okay.
Making his own brew.
I don't know if like winemaker, like that is such an art form. Like at the end of the day, like it's such a, like making wine it's so hard. There's so many things happening. It's such an art.
Oh, I know. It's fabulous. And it's so challenging and it's so worthwhile. That's why I think you'd love it.
Like it would be fun. Like I've been to a bunch of vineyards, like met so many winemakers, and for a little while I knew almost every somm in DC. Like it's just, and then I realized I was like, yeah, I actually thought about doing wine, and then I realized that there are way more money in recruiting, and I have fun in recruiting. And who buys the wine? It's the business owners too.
Yeah.
Very true.
I don't know. I can't see myself outside of staffing. Like I'd be a lost puppy without staffing right now.
Like one thing I've thought about is like, I really like the community building too. Like I don't look at myself as the expert. I don't look at myself as the guru. I really love just pulling people together to a place where everybody wins.
Yeah. So you asked me rapid fire on your podcast, a book that's been influential in my career in staffing and recruiting. What's a book that's been influential in your career for staffing and recruiting?
Good to Great by Jim Collins.
Good to Great.
I can't remember 99% of the book, but I was reading it, and it's the Stockdale paradox. It's like a page and a half, and he was interviewing somebody that actually just was the highest ranking POW in the Vietnam War, and they had a great interview, and they got done with the interview. He asked the question, like, who didn't make it out? And I was just like, okay, that's a good question. And then the response is what floored me. The optimists. The optimists are the ones that died and never made it out. And like he broke it down as like, these are the people that were full of hope. They thought they were going to get out by Christmas, but they didn't. They thought they were going to get out by Thanksgiving, but they didn't. And they died of hope. One of the things that you have to understand that this is me, like always thinking the world's a great place. So I think it was like the wake up call for me. You have to have the hope, but you have to understand the brutal reality of where you are at. Because if you don't understand the brutal reality of where you're at, you are going to be the one that dies.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember that story too. That had a big impact on me as well. Great book.
And I was just like, F, I would have been the one dying.
For real. Like I am such an optimist. It's my Achilles heel.
I may still be alive. We'll see. I flip-flop on it. But no, that's a great point. Good to great.
Is there anything that you, for those listening in, any advice you have for that 360 desk recruiter or small firm owner that's struggling right now, like most people are out there? Do you have any advice for those people today?
Biggest piece of advice is go create your bubble. Like, what was it? Jim Rohn said it, that you are going to become the 5 people that you spend the most time with in the books that you read. Here's the thing though, that was like back in the time pre-social media. I truly believe it's now the 25 people you see the most in your feed. The algorithms wire your brain. And we see it like in so many circumstances. So you need to curate your feed on every social media platform that you're on. So that way you are surrounded by people that are winning, surrounded by people that are doing things. And if you see somebody that's like on like your podcast or my podcast, reach out to them. Like ask them a question. Like you need to create a bubble for your own self-sanity, self-protection. But that bubble is also what inspires you to do more. That bubble is what inspires you to win. That bubble is also where teaching you something that make that difference in that next conversation. And then also spend an hour or two a week just trying something new. Try something dumb. Like I call these things like dumb ideas. Like my podcast was a dumb idea. I was just the summits that I put on started off as a dumb idea. Like go do a dumb idea and not worry if it's going to fail or succeed. And then if it doesn't work, go try another dumb idea.
Yeah. Yeah. I relate so much to that. It's all the dumb ideas. Like every one of them was a dumb idea. It was until it became a good idea that you're like, wow, that was a good idea. And there's very few of those.
And I've had a few conversations this week about people looking at starting a podcast. Go hit the record button. Like so often it's just like the mental barrier of hitting go, like affects and impacts every little thing. Like, oh, I don't want to do a LinkedIn article. Like I'm putting myself out there. I don't want to hop on a video. I'm putting myself out there. I don't want to hit record for a podcast interview. I'm putting myself out there. But my God, putting yourself out there can absolutely change your life. And you can put yourself out there in a way that's not self-centered. It's not like making the world about you. You could put yourself out there in a way that you really actually care about everybody else. And in that way, you're going to win too.
Yeah.
I love that. It's
Great
about
advice.
saying yes to an opportunity and putting yourself out there. It's okay. It's okay if you fumble.
All right.
At least you put
John,
it out there, right? Are we ready?
Genevieve, wrap us up.
All right. So we're going play by play. All right. Know what you bring to the table, right? Calculate what you have done. All right. You also want to keep yourself in a bubble and make sure that you have your notification set up for the top 25 recruiters because, like Benjamin just said, the top 25 people you see in your feed are going to be very influential, right? Then relationships. Okay. The people who really succeed in this industry, they're the ones who are following up. They are building those relationships and they're actually spending time with that communication. Therefore, they're the ones who get the first call. Do not forget to be doing your social selling. Okay. Sell your story. Your story should be out there. It's going to help you. It's going to help people recognize you, build your brand, and make sure that you are establishing your value. And you know what? Make sure you ask great questions and start a podcast. Did I miss anything?
I definitely hit go and start a podcast. Like I seriously think for the first like maybe 50 episodes, I was the only person listening to it. What my own podcast. And like don't look at the downloads. Like go like Gary Vee style, like go do 100 episodes or go do 25 episodes and then turn around and be like, oh, cool. All right, let me go do 100 more before I turn around. That's literally what I did with my podcast. Like just didn't look back, had fun, and then I go.
Well said.
No.
Yeah. And
Love it.
trust me, like as competitive as you are and I am on like on the leaderboard of podcasts, I want a lot more staffing and recruiting podcasts out there because I want to learn from everyone out there. Everybody has, some unique values that they're just not sharing with the world. And like, please share. Like we want to hear from you.
Question for you. Like haven't never found a leaderboard. Like where do you even find those? I've never looked for one for the podcast.
Should I tell you how ours is against yours? Because it's not even close.
I have no clue. Like I'm happy to like just literally like once
Can we just take that part offline? Like
I'm willing to constantly share numbers. I don't know what anybody else looks like. I'm just having fun.
Let's just say you are in the top 3 and you have been for years. We'll show you offline. All right, Benjamin, it's been such a treat, and you've shared so much value here, and you've lived up to the expectations of this podcast, sharing the playbook. You were very clear, and so we can't thank you enough. Anything else you want to share before we wrap it up?
If you are seeing this and you are not subscribed to the Staffing Playbook, hop on your phone, hit that subscribe button so you get every single episode that drops, because you guys drop some really good stuff. Like some really good stuff. So you got to like make sure like when it comes through, like, okay, my morning run, I need to hear what these two are saying. My drive to work, if I listen to these two, I could learn something that could change my day. So make sure to hit the subscribe.
What a cool plug. And mutually, go check out the Elite Recruiter podcast. Benjamin is just phenomenal. The guests he brings on. I credit a lot to you and your guests over the years to help me be successful in staffing. So please go subscribe to his podcast. Go listen to it. Help him get his stats up so he's number one. And let's continue to make an impact in this industry. So Benjamin, it's been a pleasure. It's been an honor. Thank you for your time today. Can't wait to have you back on again.
Thank you
guys,
so very much.
Thank you guys for the invite. And I want you guys to go crush it, guys. Make 2025 your best year yet.
Thank you.
Will do.
Shameless plug next week. John Viever and I are going to do a podcast on, we're going to recap the 3-part series Behind the Curtain, what HR really thinks about staffing agencies. We're going to share 15 key points from those interviews to help you get in front of your prospects, to get an audience, and to grow your business. So we're going to share those insights. We're going to reveal all the secrets. So tune in next Friday.
And I think we're going to be doing it together.
We're going to try. Yep. In person. All right. Thank you, everybody. Thanks again, Benjamin. Hey, thanks for watching today's episode. This episode is sponsored by Staffing Referrals. We have relied on staffing referrals for years to turn satisfied associates into brand ambassadors, keeping quality talent coming in and lift retention. See what it can do for you at staffingreferrals.com or click on the link in the description. Thanks for watching.